Hey friends, welcome to our digital space.
On This Girl Life, we're trying to figure life out, and there's no better way to do that than with your best friend by your side. So join us each week as we bring on experts to help us navigate this girl life. All right, here are your hosts, Whitney and Kristen.
Hi guys, welcome back to This Girl Life podcast. We are so excited to be back. If this is your first time listening, welcome. My name's Kristen and I'm with my co-host and the gorge Whitney Kleiner.
Oh gosh, thank you. I'm like blushing and I have my headphones on and we don't need our headphones on right now.
We're so excited to be back with you guys. This is our 5th episode.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Already.
Here we go.
We just rocked it.
Rocking it. Yeah, we're drinking champs.
Again.
And we're really excited to share with you guys our guest and who is coming today.
Yeah, it's been I strategically wanted this Erin from Wink and a Twirl to come on today because we're talking all things blogging, but also about pregnancy and infertility. So a lot of you know, if you follow me on Instagram, that I've opened up about infertility recently and that journey. And Erin has been so open about it, so we wanted to have her on. And Kristen's still in Scottsdale, so we thought, why not?
Yeah, and it's a cool topic because it's a topic that's not talked enough about, but affects so many girls. And Erin's story is cool, and she'll get into it obviously, but she can get pregnant, and her story is it's so much more than the ability to get pregnant. And she's just been through this for a long time, and I'm really excited for you guys to hear it and kind of what it's going through. And it's all three of us have faced such different levels of infertility and things in our journeys. And I think it's just cool.
That's the thing is I think a lot of women probably listen to this podcast. And I think many of us have probably gone through something, related to either a miscarriage or just trying to get pregnant. I mean, something. We all know someone or have gone through it, but everyone's story is so different. So today was super special, being our 5th episode to just carry on this conversation about motherhood. And Erin, she's a blogger, she's an influencer, and currently just opened up about her journey to get pregnant and start a family. So we're going to get into tips about blogging and the ins and outs of infertility, the do's and don'ts of talking to people with infertility. So with that being said, let's welcome Erin from A Wink and a Twirl to This Girl Life podcast.
Thanks so much for being here. We're so excited you're here. We can't wait to kind of dive into everything we're going to talk about today. So welcome.
Thank you. I'm super excited to be here with you guys.
We had some technical difficulties.
Yes.
She's been so patient because
we're already on our 2nd glass of champagne because our technical difficulties took so long.
And not complaining at all.
We're here and we're really excited. For those of you who are listening, Erin and Whitney and I have known each other since high school. We have another SCA'er in the mix, which we're excited about.
Go Eagles.
So while we haven't been connected over the last 10 years, it's fun to reconnect with someone that we knew in high school. So we're really excited you're here. We're really excited for what you're going to bring to the podcast. I'm pumped.
Yeah, I am too. And so you guys might know if you've scrolled through Instagram and you're just, I didn't even know that you had a fashion blog, but I was scrolling through Instagram in San Diego and I was like, wait, I know her. So I feel like Wink and a Twirl, your Instagram and your blog, many of our listeners have probably seen you on Instagram if they don't follow you.
Oh, absolutely.
Because you were just all over, I feel like, the Instagram fashion part. So it's pretty darn successful. Congratulations. How'd you start A Wink and a Twirl? And I know you transitioned from teaching, so kind of tell us that whole process.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. So I have always loved fashion. It's actually really interesting. Like, my biggest fans to begin with were my kindergartners when I taught kindergarten. So obviously I was a teacher, and they would comment on my outfits every day. And
How cute.
It would be like they'd go home and they'd tell their parents about, at the time my last name was Wilson. They'd be like, oh, Miss Wilson, she had the cutest dress on with these cute, boots. And then like a week later, they'd come to school like wearing a similar outfit, like to try and recreate what I was wearing. So it was kind of like validated how much I liked to dress up for work and stuff. So like I said, I've always liked fashion. Fast forward to, I had to leave my job because my boyfriend, now husband, was moving to North Dakota to attend law school. So I was sad to leave, your
kiddos,
my kiddos,
and
my
move
family,
to North Dakota,
and move to North Dakota, which
no offense,
no, if you're from there, it's a cool place, but not technically for me. A little cold for me. So we moved up there, and I was just kind of lost. I was in grad school, taking online courses, and I just kind of sat in our apartment and was like, what am I gonna do today? And I just I had been following other blogs, for years, and I was like, I think I'm just gonna make a blog. Like, why not?
Why not?
I have all this free time. I've got Brad. He can take my photos and I can post about it. Like, it'll be a fun thing we can do together. So I just came up with a domain name. Got my website up. Wasn't pretty by any means. Got my matching, social media handles, and then I just started putting outfits on and posting.
Wow. So how long ago was that?
Okay, so that was back, 4 years ago, maybe 5.
Okay.
And I did it for about a solid 2 years, the whole time that we were up there.
Okay.
We moved home, and I was full blown back into full-time teaching, and I actually stopped blogging completely.
Oh, wow.
I didn't even post anything for 2 years.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just with all of the stress that came with teaching full time, and then Brad and I have been trying to start a family, and the stresses of going through infertility and a few pregnancy losses. It was just too much. I couldn't do all of it.
Yeah.
It became overwhelming. So I just took a back seat with the blogging and was just teaching.
Okay.
About 1.5 years ago, we decided that I was going to stop teaching to really focus on the fertility stuff and, eliminate stress.
Yes, because that's a big
I was like,
thing.
well, maybe stress is causing,
Right.
These issues, and maybe I'm pushing myself too hard,
Yeah.
and that's why we, lost the pregnancies and stuff. So I quit my job, and I was like, my blog's still sitting here. I didn't, delete it. I just left my Instagram, and I just started doing it again.
Cool.
And I've been doing it ever since. So it's been about almost 2 years again back at it.
And you have such a consistent look. And I have for new bloggers just starting out, we obviously know you have an Insta husband, right? Instagram husband. He takes all your photos.
Shout out to the Insta husbands of the world.
Thanks,
right.
babe.
Yeah. But what advice can you give new bloggers, new people wanting to get into creating that more of a fashion Instagram, fashion blog?
Yeah.
You have such a look. It just flows. And I swear you have so much content. You post a couple times a day. So what advice do you have for them?
Honestly, the biggest thing for me is consistency, like you mentioned. My favorite bloggers are ones that I know when they're going to post.
Yeah.
I can count on them they're going to post this morning, they're going to post in the evening.
Yeah.
It's going to be something I want to see or read about, and those are the ones that I'm drawn to because I feel like I'm really following along with their story.
Yeah.
More than just, more sporadic posts and things like that. So honestly, just posting consistently, being, try to do real life stuff.
Yeah.
Outfit of the day posts, people really like
they
that.
Do.
Doing a series of, things to wear, for Valentine's Day. I'm doing a ton of stuff, what to wear for Valentine's Day.
You have some cute sweaters,
Yeah.
man. I'm
I think that's the thing that when we kind of started looking at guests we wanted to bring on, and Whit kind of brought you to my attention, and so then I stalked you and all that fun stuff. But I was just amazed, and I love how you just kind of share what you're doing. Last night, if you guys were watching her Insta stories, you were at the grocery store. And I was like, I love this. I'm finding myself so involved in your story. But then I love that you're posting about what I can wear for Valentine's Day. I don't know. You're super authentic in your presentation of what you're doing.
Thank you.
So it comes across as wow, you're an awesome fashion blogger. But I was at Fry's with you last night. Like,
Yeah.
I literally felt that, like, hanging out with...
nail glue.
Yeah, like...
broke my nail.
Yeah, like, I could totally relate to that. And I
Yeah.
think that's, for me, that was really cool to watch you.
Yeah.
And it's, like, inspiring to us who are also influencers and things like that. Like, it's cool to watch you, what you do. And, like, you're really good at it.
Thank you. I'm glad you mentioned, like, the authenticity.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because that's something that I try to really do is be super transparent
Yeah.
and open. And, like, what I do all day, I'm like, all right, do you want to come? Like,
Yeah.
come to Fry's grocery store.
Yeah.
Come to happy hour with my husband and I.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I do really enjoy doing stories and kind of taking everybody along with us. And then, of course, creating fun content, you know, with my posts and blog posts as well.
Well,
It's super fun to kind of do it all.
Yeah.
Well, and it does. It makes you super authentic. And leading into that, you have been super open and super honest, you know, about your struggle with infertility. And I've connected with you because I'm going through that myself. We're just starting that. And so for a lot of you who maybe aren't following Erin, or you do, you know that she has been recently open about it more. You had a blog post, which was incredibly done. I just have to say.
Thank you.
So if you have not, go read this blog post. We'll put it in our show notes. So we wanted you to come on to talk about that. And I think I selfishly wanted you to come on too, to have someone to connect with about that. So, and we should say, I wanted to share with our listeners kind of a little bit about infertility, get all scientific and nursey with you. Infertility is the inability to get pregnant within 1 year of unprotected intercourse. 6 months in women for over 35 and 3 months in women over the age of 40. And infertility is not something that just affects women. About 30%, I think they said, were women. 30% were due to male, and then there was a 40% that could be traced back to both of them. So we wanted to give you a little quick, Nurse Whitney moment there.
And I think it's important because we're learning as we're going through the podcast journey that it's not something that's talked about, but it's something that affects so many women. Like all three of us have been affected by some part of that.
Yeah.
You know, and like I think it's important to talk about. And you are like so brave about the fact that you share about this all the time. And so for our listeners who don't know you, I feel like I want to hear about it. If you don't mind, like giving us a little brief overview of like what you've been through in the past 3 years and that journey for you.
Sure. So my husband and I, so it's Brad, I'll just refer to him as Brad. I won't say my husband and I every time. So Brad and I started trying to get pregnant, I want to say it's coming up on 3 years. So about 3 years ago. We got pregnant right away. So I'm a little bit different of a case. You know, the word infertility, like you mentioned, is kind of a weird term just because that is the inability to get pregnant, whereas we are able to get pregnant. So I just kind of use that term because I guess I don't know what else to refer to it as.
Right.
You know, it's just kind of like what people know, like struggling to have a baby. You know. Right. So we got pregnant. We ended up losing that pregnancy in the first 6 weeks. At that time, no one I knew had ever talked to me about it.
Wow.
I mean, I came to find that a lot of people had their first pregnancy did end in miscarriage, but like you said, Kristen, like it wasn't discussed.
Right? Yeah.
It's not talked about.
It's not.
So I was like, wow, like what's wrong with me? You know, like how come my friends didn't have one? And I came to find a couple of them did. Like, it's a little bit more common to have a miscarriage the first time around. So it's like, okay, like that stinks. Like we'll try again. So Brad and I tried a second time, got pregnant. That one made it to about 7 weeks, and we lost that pregnancy. At that time, it can happen. You can lose 2 pregnancies in a row. It's a little bit more rare. So our doctor was like, our OB said, well, it's been 2 now. Why don't I'm going to refer you to a fertility specialist.
Sure.
Let's just look around and make sure that there's nothing going on before moving forward. So Brad and I met with our fertility doctor, who is amazing. We use the same doctor. He's great. We did every test there was to do, both, on me, on Brad, genetics, like everything. And what we found was that you guys are fine.
Yeah.
Which you would think you'd be like, oh, yeah, like, great, everything's
Yeah.
fine. But really, that's not how I felt
It's like
at all.
the worst one to
Right.
me. That would be like, what?
It was shattering. And
Yeah.
like I remember talking to family and they're like, oh, that's great. There's nothing wrong. And I'm like, but I want there to be a fix.
So you can
Exactly.
So
fix it.
you can fix it. I want to
Right.
know what's wrong so we can adjust something. And
Right.
Sure.
so they were like, well, we don't really, I think we should try again. Like, so they did give me a prescription for progesterone.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
they're like, well, maybe your uterine lining is a little thin. We'll
Sure.
just give you this to help boost it, and then maybe that's the trick.
Yeah.
And so at that time, it was 2 losses. Brad and I were at a level where we were tired. That all took place over the course of about a year and a half. So it was a lot of emotions and a lot of stress, and we just were like, I think we should take a break, just for our well-being.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we weren't having fun.
Right.
Right.
When you get consumed with
It's
trying
very
to have a
all-consuming.
baby,
Mhm.
it can be not fun.
Yeah.
I don't
Right.
hate to say it like
we
that.
were there.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
like
yeah.
Yes.
you don't, it's like almost like you're lacking joy
Yes.
in like
Absolutely.
everyday things. And
Mhm.
so we're like, well, like let's just take a break. So we ended up taking a 6-month break from trying. We went on trips. We got back to just like dates and
Yeah.
having fun and not like worrying about that
Yeah.
underlying like stress of
Sure.
the monthly, am I pregnant this month? And then
Yep.
if you get pregnant, am I gonna keep it?
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
Yeah.
it was cool to just take those 6 months.
Have some you time.
And it was
Decompress.
healing, and
Yeah.
we got back to who we were as a couple, and
I think that's important.
it was really good for us.
because
Yeah.
you can lose yourself in that.
Oh yeah, I mean, I was just so depressed,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I had then at that point quit my job, and I was like, well, great, I quit my job, and
Yeah.
That's a
Yeah.
lot.
It is a
I
lot.
lost another pregnancy, and
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
now what am I gonna do? And so in hindsight, that's when I started blogging again.
Yeah.
But so we took that 6 months off, came back around to it last year.
Mhm.
Tried. This time it wasn't super easy for us. The first 2 pregnancies we did get pregnant right away. This third time took about 6 months. So I was starting to get a little freaked, Oh, great. Took 6 months off. Now I can't get pregnant.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
am I old?
Yeah,
like,
I know. I
Are
God,
my,
isn't
eggs, are my eggs older now?
isn't that the go-to though? Because
Yeah.
I'm always like, oh, I'm getting older, and that is such
Right.
a concern.
It
in
is
my mind.
It is in the infertility.
It
you
is.
hear so much like, those statistical numbers like, oh, well,
Right.
you're this age, and so the percentage of this, and it gets so technical.
It
and
does.
You're constantly thinking, how old am I going to be?
Yeah.
Right.
Like, what
You
is-
start playing the
Yes.
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 Yeah.
And so, but we did end up getting pregnant a third time. This time, the doctors, our OB was a little bit more caring with making sure he was seeing us consistently. We actually, that round, did see a heartbeat
Okay.
and an ultrasound. That was the
Okay.
first time we ever got to experience that,
Yeah.
which was cool but frightening.
Yes.
Right.
At that appointment, our OB was super encouraging, and he was like, we've seen the heartbeat. It's a 5% chance that anything can happen at this point. 5%. Well, the following week, we came back and the heartbeat was gone. So, of course, I'm in the 5%.
Yeah.
I'm in that 5%. Like,
Yeah.
that's insanity.
Yeah.
And I was super angry that he was so positive, and I let myself kind of
Get hopeful.
Right.
not that I was excited. I've never been excited, to
Right.
be honest. It's just there's too much fear at this point. But I let myself have more hope.
Yeah.
And so we lost that third pregnancy, and at that point I was pretty shattered, and I can't do this anymore. And so we went back to our fertility doctor, and his medical opinion was that he believed, while Brad and I don't have any genetic issues individually, he thought that perhaps the embryos themselves had genetic problems.
Sure.
Whether that be an egg issue or a sperm issue, even though both were okay on their own.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like when everything
they
comes together, is there a problem? And so his advice was, well, let's do the IVF, let's do the egg retrieval, we'll bring Brad's portion in,
Yep.
we'll make the embryos, and then
We'll
a lot of people will just transfer an embryo at
Right.
that point, but he wanted to check for those genetic issues.
What is that called? Do you know what that's called? I just listened. It's like
there's so many
Okay.
acronyms and things. It was just a genetic testing of the embryos. So they make the embryos, they see how many get to a certain point that they're testable. I think it was like 6 days. 6 days, yeah. And then the ones that made it that far, they biopsy them and send out for genetic testing. Okay. So what those results told us was that the majority of the ones that we did test had genetic issues. Okay. So we were left with one that had no genetic issues. Okay. So we ended up just transferring that one good genetic embryo about 2 weeks ago. Okay. But that first round for us was unsuccessful. I didn't end up getting pregnant from it. Okay. So that's kind of where we're at now. Okay. So 3 losses and then 1 failed IVF round.
Okay. And we kind of talked about this. You're so just being able to talk about all this. I mean, we first came in here and off, before we recorded, I was saying I went to my first appointment and I was like a disaster. I mean, I was so emotional, and you're just well-spoken, and the process of grief, like I think you've processed so much of that already. Where are you at emotionally? Like I think we all fall in different spectrums, right? But yeah. I mean, where are you at in that?
It's definitely been a journey as far as the emotional aspect of everything. Yeah. I would say definitely in the beginning, I was a bigger wreck than I am now. And I only think that's because, like, I don't like to use the word numb, but I'm getting used to it. Yeah. Like, I'm just kind of at this point expecting disappointment. Mm-hmm. I know that doesn't sound like positive.
Well, it's real life, man.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so while this last week we found out that it didn't work, I did, break down and do the whole ugly cry thing. Yeah. But I just, I did it. I got it out. And now I just immediately turned to, okay, what's next? Right. Yeah. So obviously I have a huge support system. Brad is literally a saint. Our families are super supportive. Like I said, we have an amazing doctor. And then obviously, Brad and my relationship with God has definitely helped solidify that trust, even though at times I do have anger and, that trust definitely wavers for sure. Yeah. But that is kind of what holds me. I know that at some point I'll be a mom. Yeah. And Brad will be a dad. Like, I know that. I just don't know what that looks like. Yeah. But just having that assurance that we have options and if that's truly the desire for us, that's on our heart, I know that God will provide that, whatever, way that looks like.
Yeah. I think the fact that you can even see that and say that, it's so showing of your character, and it's really inspiring because it's a hard journey. And I think the fact that you have this really positive outlook that it will happen. And I think that's just, it's really inspiring for people that are going through the same thing too. And I think it's really cool. And I think your story, you have so much knowledge to give and so much advice. Just for me, I'm like, oh my gosh, you're so inspiring. So I think through this, what piece of advice do you give to someone that's listening, that's going through this and that's struggling and doesn't have your same outlook? Space. Yeah. You just have a really good a really good outlook. So what do you give women going through this? What piece of advice do you give them?
The biggest thing I can probably say is try not to do it by yourself. I feel I know certain people that are going through certain things, whether that is they're struggling to get pregnant or they've gone through a loss or multiple. I see a lot of keeping it to themselves, almost I don't know if society has done this, but it's almost like a shame. People feel ashamed, almost that they had a loss or that people will think that they did something wrong. Yeah. Oh, well, maybe they weren't taking care of themselves or, or whatever. So first of all, no one does anything to cause a loss. I used to do that in my head, and I'd go over it with the doctor. I'm well, did I work out too hard? Yeah. Should I not have ran on the treadmill or, was I not, I skipped a prenatal vitamin. Your head go, that's ridiculous, absolutely. Right? You have a loss because you missed a vitamin.
But you're trying to figure it out. You just want to know. And
the first instinct is to blame yourself. And I don't know why, because I guess it's your body. Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and I think we have some responsibility. There's been responsibility placed on us without us knowing. As we're a woman. Yeah. We're supposed to be the baby carrier, the wife, the friend. You know, we have all this responsibility that society has placed on us. And I think you're right in that, like, society has made us feel that shame when we shouldn't.
And it's just, we were talking, again, off because of our technical difficulties, but because of Instagram and because, like, we only see these gorgeous photos of these women pregnant and, oh my gosh, the pregnancy test. And no one is saying, hey, I did have a miscarriage and I'm being real and authentic, or hey, I'm struggling with infertility. Like myself, I was super, I said to Kristen, I asked her a couple months ago, should I share my story? Because I don't know why. And when I just shared mine and I was bawling on Instagram, I had so many people say, wow, thank you for sharing. This is so raw, so real. No one does this. And I think that is what's missing. We don't see it on Instagram. We don't see it in this stupid world of social media. And so then it's like all this shame, like I'm the only one.
Yeah.
I can't believe that, all my best friends are pregnant. Well, maybe your best friend didn't tell you she had a miscarriage.
Absolutely.
Or, so as women, we need to speak up. And I appreciate you doing that. And that's why this blog post I just thought was so beautiful. And we need to be encouraging one another to speak up when we have issues or find that support system, And you even said at the end of the blog post, like, talk to me, write me if you need help or you have questions or, come to me. And I think that's incredible. So, I don't know. I commend you for
Thank you.
Just being brave,
Well, like, I just, I had talked about it with Brad. I'm like, I just really feel like it's time that, like, I just really am super open with everybody. And he's like, well, why do you want to do that? It's kind of personal, it's private. And I'm like, because I didn't have anything to go to when I started going through it. And had I been more aware of, it was common and other women were struggling with it, I feel like it would have helped me process and grieve a little easier, especially in the beginning. So now I just want to be super open and transparent for anybody. Because, I want everyone to know that it is actually common and they're not alone. And I'm always here if anybody wants to talk. And I've honestly, since I've posted about everything, I've had just an outpouring of questions, people who want to pray for me or can I pray for them? Just, do you want to meet up and talk about this? Like local people. So lots of stories have been coming through to my inbox and they've been super encouraging. It's just really nice to be able to talk about it with somebody else that's going through it.
Yes.
And I feel like a lot of women don't have that.
Yeah.
So
for sure. I was reading a bunch of stuff recently myself, and there's a lot of what not to do, what not to say to people who are struggling with any sort of problem around pregnancy or fertility. So what are kind of some of those things of like
the do's and don'ts?
The do's and don'ts. Like, what do you not want to hear from someone? Because I know what I don't want to hear, but I want to hear what you, and then I'll share mine.
Sure. So I have a couple different scenarios. So as far as like things that people have mentioned just, on social media and stuff, it's all been super supportive. But sometimes I will receive certain things that don't necessarily pertain to our story. They're always meant to be super encouraging and stuff. But, like, I know so-and-so, they couldn't have a baby. They couldn't get pregnant for 10 years, and, like, it'll happen for you. Which, of course, I 100% appreciate anything, that from anybody. But that's why I wanted to be super open about what specifically is going on because, obviously, we don't have that exact issue of getting pregnant. So I guess just making sure that you're aware of the story and what someone's going through.
Right.
And then we also have had moments just with like nurses and doctors that don't know our story. It's not their fault that they don't know. We go to the fertility office. Like I said, our situation's a little bit different. So I think the majority of the women that are going into the office like can't get pregnant. They're struggling to get pregnant. And so when we finally do get a positive, they get really excited for us and they're like, oh my gosh, aren't you just so excited? And like I want to be like, like just to put on the show. But like deep down I'm terrified because, like am I gonna lose this one again? So it's hard. I feel like it's one of those things that a lot of people don't know what to say.
Right.
For sure. Yes,
But I mean,
agree.
everyone always responds so sweetly and positively.
Yeah.
And stuff.
Yeah.
So
I think there's a certain way to just, like, I've had friends go through it, and, like, I know when we lost ours, it was like, I don't need you to say anything. I just want to know that you're here with me, you know? And that was for me, like, when Whit was going through that a couple weeks ago, like, I don't know what to say all the time. But, like, for me, I hope, like, I just want to be that person.
She just sat on the phone with me,
like,
you know, and was like, I love you.
Yeah, like, I don't know what to say, and, like, you don't know, I didn't know what I wanted people to say to me, but, like, I want to know that, like, you're just here with me.
That you just care.
Yeah.
Let them know you care.
Yeah, and I think that, for me, and the do's and don'ts is, like, right, like, I don't need to hear your advice. I don't need to hear your suggestions. I just want to know that, like, you'll hold my hand when I'm crying. Really, you know?
Definitely.
yeah.
What about you? What was your do and don't?
Well, I think it's, again, you don't know people's stories.
Right.
And I think that's the biggest thing is we are all so unique. And it's not like, I think if you're uneducated, you may think like, oh, well, if a girl can't get pregnant, it is because of A, B, C, D.
Mm-hmm.
It's not how that works. I mean,
I think that's the easy way out.
I think it is the easy way. And I was told my whole life, since I was younger, because of things, like, you're going to have a very hard time getting pregnant. Like, I knew going in. And then all of a sudden, I got pregnant. Literally, I was in Guam, which that's a whole nother story coming up, guys. But I was in Guam chilling, like, just married, total bliss. And I got pregnant. And I could not believe it. I cried. I was sobbing. Because I was like, what is happening? This was not supposed to happen. And I thought I would lose. I was guaranteed I didn't have any attachment to her. And I told myself, I've never told this to anyone. So I literally was like, if I lose her, I didn't know it was a her, but I was like, if I lose it, I lose it. Like, I had no attachment because I just didn't think it would happen. Mm-hmm. I didn't think I would keep her. And I was like, meh, whatever. And so, you know, now that I can't get pregnant, people look at me and say, well, you have one, so you'll get pregnant. Like, oh, just relax. Mm-hmm. You know, once Kale's back from deployment, everything will happen. And you're like, there's so much story to it. Mm-hmm. There's so much backstory. And I mean, maybe we'll move to Guam again and it will just be bliss and we will get pregnant. I don't know. But it's just people being self-aware. And I think being on Instagram especially, or Facebook, whatever, you are behind a screen, you are behind a computer, so people can think they can say whatever they want and write comments. But I always say, take a pause. Yeah. Pause in every situation before you reach out and just say,
there's a human on the other side of this that I'm writing to.
Yeah. And that just think about that.
And I think like a lot of what, you know, goes into that is also, like you said, not like to be uneducated, but it's not discussed.
Right.
So like if you haven't been through it, you're just reacting based on what you've seen.
Sure.
Right. How it's been depicted.
Right.
You know?
Right. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So if you don't know the ins and outs of how it all works, like, you know, I've been told, oh my gosh, but you're so young, like, don't even stress about it.
Right.
Well, I might, you know, I'm 31, so like, okay, like, yeah, like that's still within the good years.
Right.
Of, you know, we're not.
Right.
Get to 35 and then the percentages start changing. It's a little scary, but
right.
But I might be 31, but I've been told that my eggs are not, and so but you know, people don't understand that. They don't know that. They just see, you know, oh my gosh, she's so young, like oh, she's fine, like you know, but that's not exactly how it always works.
Yeah,
right.
So,
and I love, like, I think you kind of touched on it earlier, but like it's really helped like your faith and your relationship with your husband.
Yeah.
And have you seen this strengthen all of those areas? I mean, I can't imagine, like, I know for us, like, when it happened to Adam and I, it was really hard for us. And I think it pushed us together because we were the ones going through it, you know, and, like, as much as your friends and your family can be there, like, they're not the ones grieving. Sure. And for us, I think I saw a strength in that, in, like, our desire to keep moving forward together. And, like, have you seen that with Brad and with God and, like, your whole, like, you kind of touched on it a little bit, but how has that helped or not, or how has that done? What has that done to your relationship?
So absolutely, I would say it's been a roller coaster ride. Brad has 100% been my biggest support. We have been super strong throughout the entire process. he, like I said, is a saint because there were definitely moments in the past 3 years that I was pretty much a handful.
Yeah.
Emotionally, I had anger, I, had resentment, I had fear, and not gonna lie, I was kind of high maintenance for him for a while.
Rightfully so.
Yeah,
Rightfully
and so, but he just had so much patience with me. And
I love hearing that.
I know.
Since we know Brad since
seriously,
high,
it's like shout out to the good husband. I mean, that's just
gosh.
amazing.
Yeah.
I mean,
Go Brad.
there were just days with fertility shots that I just didn't even know who I was.
Right.
Like, they just totally rock your world.
I'm
and,
sure.
He's the one who has to give them to me. And, no one ever thinks about him. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, wow.
I just got goosebumps.
I know, me too.
Like, poor
it's
Erin.
amazing.
Like, she has to get shots in her butt. Like, oh, man. But, like, poor Brad. Like, he has to do it. You know? And there was one night, like, the injection was going so bad. And he accidentally went, like, a little, like, it slipped. And it went too far. And there was blood everywhere. And he was just mortified. And he was just so upset. And I'm like, and I was like the first time I realized, like, oh, my gosh, like,
you're in this too.
you have to do this. Like, I don't know if I could ever stick you in the butt with that shot.
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Like, and I was just like, you're just amazing. Like, I feel like a lot of times there's not enough gratitude pushed onto the spouse.
For
It's
sure.
he always says, like, well, it's happening to you, babe. I'm like, well, no, technically it's happening to us.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes, it's my body, but it's
You're watching
it's
your
your
wife go
yeah,
through this.
Right.
It's your babies too.
Right.
And so it's definitely brought us very close. Also much closer to God. We've talked with our pastor about it. We pray about it. So having that as like a backing for all of this is absolutely necessary.
Yeah.
And I don't know what I would do without Brad and with our faith and honestly.
Well, here's a shout out to Brad.
Yes.
Because
it wasn't clear.
he absolutely, that's amazing. I'm really glad you have that support because
Thank you.
I think it's important for you and for each other that you guys have each other like that.
Definitely.
It's amazing. I think that's really cool.
Well, we always end our podcast every time with what is the best piece of advice or a tip that you've ever received from your best friends, because this is all about friendship and best friends. Obviously we're best friends, so we want to know what advice they've given you.
Thought about this question for a while. I've gotten a lot of good advice from a lot of good friends throughout my life, but one just really stood out to me, and that was just do you, like, be you. Whether that's in your relationship, whether it's in a friendship, whether it's in blogging, your workplace. Yeah. If you're trying to be someone that's you're not being true to yourself, like trying to act like somebody else or be what somebody else wants you to be, like, I just honestly think that you can't be happy that way.
Yes.
I've done that in past relationships, try to be like this certain person to fit that mold.
Yeah.
I've tried to do that in work environments, like, oh, well, I'm a little different than them, so I should probably like change myself so that I'm better, situated in this team, or, you do it with, oh, I want to be friends with this girl, like, she's so cool, or, like, she's such a cool blogger, like, we could be, like, really close, but, like, if you find yourself having to, like, change your values or change what you are all about, then that's not really the kind of relationship that you want.
Right.
So that's probably like the one that stood out to me, is just like be super authentic and true to who you are, because
love that.
Nothing positive is going to come from pretending about who you are.
My motto this year is you do you, boo. That was like my motto, because I'm all about that. I think we don't live in this authentic society anymore, and we crave it's why we created this podcast. We crave authenticity, and we crave
community,
true connection with people. So I love that, and that just like solidifies why you're here.
And why we know our listeners will relate to you and love you, and like I think it's so cool. So what can we expect from you as you? What can we expect from Wink and a Twirl? What can our listeners look forward to with you in 2019?
So for 2019, I'm really hoping that this is the year we're going to get pregnant, it's going to stick, and we're going to start, I'm going to start transitioning a little bit more into the, mommy lifestyle kind of stuff. So we're very hopeful that we can start, transitioning and tapping into that kind of content, because I'm super excited to start that sort of thing. Obviously more fashion, beauty related things, maybe some travel. We'll see.
Yes.
Cool.
Brad and I have a cool staycation coming up in a couple weeks, so excited to share that.
Awesome.
We've even talked about maybe getting into YouTube.
Ooh.
I know.
All right.
Just maybe like doing some vlogging.
Cool.
So we're kind of like doing some research and
Exploring that.
Awesome.
exploring that as maybe a possibility because we have a ton of fun on stories.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, well, maybe we can like go bigger with this.
Well, and you guys are so cute on stories, so I think
Thank you.
I think that would transition
Yes.
really, really well for you guys.
Why
you.
not? You
Yeah.
do you, boo.
So
I
we'll
think
see.
that's really exciting.
Yeah, we're excited to kind of continue talking about that. So.
Awesome.
Good. And give us the scoop. So where can they find you?
Stalk you.
Yeah, and stalk you.
You can stalk me on Instagram. My handle is @WinkandATwirl. And then my website is winkandtwirl.com. So you can find me on those places.
And don't worry, guys, we will link everything in our show notes. We'll link it in the description. So on our Instagram, so you can stalk her, find her, keep following her
Yes,
because
the journey.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of good stuff for you
Thank
and
you.
Brad and your family and your blog and your Instagram. And I think,
It's gonna be a good year for you.
yeah,
It's gonna be a good year for all of us.
yeah,
guys.
we're really excited to
2019.
follow along with your journey and
Yeah.
Thank you.
yeah,
So thank you for being here.
Thank you so much
thank
for
you so
having me.
much. Hey guys, before you go, don't forget to subscribe to This Girl Life podcast on iTunes and make sure to hit us with that 5-star review because you know we love a good review. Also, you can find This Girl Life on Instagram at @TGL Podcast, where you can find all of the updates, our fun guests, and any news TGL. You can go to our website and you can find us on YouTube. We can't wait to see y'all soon.